Hey, Kaylee.
Hello.
How are you?
Ho I'm good. I'm recovering from being in the beautiful sunshine of Florida.
That's funny. You're recovering.
I'm in recovery mode back to -20, so I feel like I
Oh,
need to
no.
stop talking about the weather, though. I think if you listen back, I'm basically just bitching about the weather for the first part of most
I
podcast
know.
episodes.
I know. I
But
know. I
I gotta
traveled
be
to
more positive.
Texas. I traveled to Texas, so I was in 80 degrees in Texas. Then I came back to Florida, and it was 80 degrees in Florida. So I'm not suffering. I'm experiencing like warmth and warmth. So I get it. I mean, I remember
You
the
live
winter
different
days when I
lives.
lived in a cold place. By the way, nice segue to ice and winter because it
Oh,
made me
okay.
think of. I had this like metaphor pop into my head after talking to two friends last week.
Okay.
And two friends are having interesting experiences in at work. One just felt like, she was kind of done with her workplace. She said, "Hey, I'm looking for a role. If you know anybody, let me know. I don't." She said something like, "I don't trust this place anymore." And it's so interesting. It does feel like a switch went on, right? And then this other person who's been struggling a longer time with his boss and his work. He went on a trip where he had a lot of one-on-one time with his boss, and he had a similar reaction of like, This is really, I'm done with this. Like it's worse than I thought, and I got to get out." And it was both of these things were related to trust, I thought, and the metaphor that popped into my head was. A frozen lake. So you can probably relate to this as a fellow ice skater, right? And you're in the frozen tundra, so to
Yes.
speak.
Yeah.
Um, but a frozen lake in springtime where it's melting and you're forced to walk on this lake. So you step onto the ice and you're tentative and you see puddles and you hear cracking and you just don't want to be there. So you move really slowly and you're just worried about falling in. And I thought that's how it feels when there's low trust in an organization. Because I've been there. You may have been there in your own career at some point, and it's this feeling of just I can't be safe, so I'm going to be careful and I'm going to take care of myself. So that's the metaphor that popped into my head, and I thought that might be a good way to kind of kick off our conversation around this topic of what happens when trust is gone.
I wonder, Joe, even just as you're giving those stories, because they're two different situations, but even for the second one, your buddy who went, you said that they spent a lot of time with their boss, that maybe they didn't normally have that amount of
Yes,
exposure to them.
yes,
Was it was it your buddy who felt like they were experiencing the low trust, or did they notice a difference in the boss too?
yeah,
Because
yeah. So
sometimes when you get
yeah,
exposure
yep,
to people in different environments, it, like, sheds some light on a thing that
that's
wasn't
right.
you didn't know before.
He thought, I think we all tell the story of our experiences at work before we know the facts. And I think his
Mm,
story was much more like, why is my boss sort of out to get me or making my life difficult?
right.
And then he learned his boss has already fallen through the ice and is just flailing and trying to get out. So he realized like my boss is suffering more than I am and is has no it's like the old lifeguard thing, be careful the person doesn't pull you under when they're drowning. That's what happens I think in organizations. When your boss doesn't feel safe, they're just going to pull you under with them because they're trying to survive. And I think that's what he noticed, that his boss
Mm.
was just flailing. So the boss is probably not even realizing how miserable they are, and they're taking people down. He's taking people down with him as a boss in the grip of it all.
But what's interesting to me about that is he almost didn't know that until he had the additional exposure.
Yes,
Because
yes,
when we think about organizations overall, it's almost like the title, whether it's the boss or the leader, the direct reports, the moment the trust drops, it's almost as if people start making trade-offs.
yes.
It's like they will make a trade-off in order to make themselves feel safer on
That's
the ice.
right. That's
I
right.
I
That's
loop
right. If the
loop it
ice isn't safe, they're going to make
Yeah,
themselves feel safe. Yeah.
yes. So if these trade-offs are being made, I think it could be helpful for us to break down, like, because I'm sure we could talk about a lot of them, but we're trying to keep it simple here, is if we talk about the top 3, like, if there are 3 trade-offs that people make that you can watch out for, that leaders could be more aware of, that they either see in their team or that they themselves are doing, these trade-offs is like, what can they do about them? Because I think there's a consequence there, right? the trades will destroy performance. The trade-offs will have adverse effects. So maybe
Yeah,
we
it'll
could use
affect
that.
retention, it'll affect
Yes,
loyalty.
yes.
It creates that buzz where people talk outside of the meetings and they don't talk inside the meetings and all this other sort of negative stuff, and it shows up in surveys, but that's a survey is a lagging indicator of this.
Right. Okay, so if there were only 3 trade-offs and we're narrowing it down, I think the first one that we could talk about, or maybe what I'm thinking of the all 3, you tell me if you agree these are good ones to talk about,
Yes.
is trading truth for peace,
Mhm.
ownership for CYA, you know, the folks listening, well, I'm trying to class it up and not swear as much in this episode, so that's my effort there. And then the third one I got is curiosity for safety.
Yeah. Yep.
So, if you're okay with those, let's maybe we just try and break down those in terms of what does
Yes.
it look like? What are some things we can do to fix it?
Yeah, yeah. When you have a lack of trust, the first, I think these even might be in order of like where with the way
Do
they
you think?
happen.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
they might be, because I think we first learn to lay low, and to lay low is to just shut our mouths, right? If we speak and we notice there's like a smackdown for it, and the organization plays a little whack a mole with us, we learn to trade telling the truth for keeping the peace and just going along. So when you get hit in the head enough times in the whack-a-mole game, you just start nodding your head instead of opening your mouth. So I think that's one of the big trade-offs. That whole truth for peace is shut up and just keep your head low.
I'm trying to think of what that looks like in real life. Even just if I think back to my own experiences,
Yeah.
it's those conversations where people go, "Oh, do you have any questions?" And people go, "No, no, no concerns." Or they say things like, "Yeah, that makes sense." Like it could just be silence in meetings, or they could just be saying phrases like that
Yes.
as well. Like, I'm just trying to think,
Yes.
is that what it
They'll
could look
affirm
like?
something they don't believe in just to keep
Yeah.
safe. Yeah.
Or it's the I worked with someone, this was years ago, but I remember this particular leader of the department was always so surprised when there was a problem. It was like they were there was some sort of I just always remember thinking that. I'm like, "Why are they always so surprised that the people are not happy or that we don't have a solution to this particular thing?" And I remember even thinking back then, there's gotta be something to that, right? If leaders just continuously surprised that folks are not on board with the change, I think that maybe could relate back to what we're talking about here on this. Yeah, they're trading it, truth for peace. They're gonna
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that
People
possible? Yeah.
People will trade that all the time because survival matters. There's a. Have you seen the recent meme? The people are making a meme of this, but there's this video where the McDonald's CEO is eating this arch sandwich. It's like they're reintroducing this McDonald's sandwich, right?
Okay.
This burger, and I happened to see the video, but it's really not about the video. It's about all the stitches and memes that are coming out of this video, because he looks like a person who's never eaten McDonald's before. He takes the tiniest bite. It feels so awkwardly robotic, and he calls it a product. I'm really excited about this product. And he says something like it has beef notes. Like, I hope it has beef in it, not just, but the whole thing is people trading truth for peace. Because anyone with a sensibility of social media would have said, do not put that video out there. But I'm sure they
Right.
had an ad agency, an internal marketing team, and everybody just greenlit this thing because he was excited about it. And nobody told him the truth that he was going to really suffer this mockery on social media. And that's pretty high profile, where there's probably more memes of the video that are viewed than the video itself. So what happens when the CEO doesn't get the truth? You have videos like this that go viral for all the wrong reasons.
It must be that's an example of an American meme, perhaps, Joe.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's worth a watch because it's so awkward. It looks like a person eating a burger for the first time.
Weird. That's
Yeah,
weird.
exactly.
What what do you think in terms of a fix for this one? Because I mean, it's easy to talk about why this stuff doesn't work and the
Yeah,
negative
yeah,
impacts, but I
yeah.
immediately go to what's the fix to make sure that on your team or in your division or your influence over others, you can make sure this isn't a thing? Like, what could that look like in real life?
Yeah. Well, how did we learn to not say the truth? Give me an example of what happened to stop us from saying the truth.
Well, there was obviously a consequence that they
Right.
witnessed either from somebody else or
Yes.
they themselves experienced.
Yeah. So you're going to have people on your team who have either experienced the consequence of the whack-a-mole game or they're not sure. So the only thing you could do in both cases is invite the truth, right? That's one. So you can set the conditions of saying, hey, I want the uncomfortable truths. I want the good stuff and I want to know what's not working because for us to be successful, I got to hear it all. That only works if there's no consequences, because you could be
Right.
someone who invites it and then plays whack-a-mole later. And if
Some
I hope people know what whack-a-mole is. It's that game where the moles pop up
yeah.
in the hole and then
No.
you hit it with the soft hammer, right? Just in
Yes.
case people are saying, "What's whack-a-mole?"
No.
Um, yeah.
I think
I
that's
hope
I think
everybody's played that game at some kind of carnival or something. So
yeah.
you have to invite it, and then you have to mean it, and that's the harder part. Like, so you can't
Mm.
wince when you hear it, and you can't but defend it. It has to be, "Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing, and let me, let me figure
Okay.
this out. Let me get back to you. Let's see what we can do about it. I welcome that. Thank you so much." And if you don't give the energy of welcoming it, you'll never hear the truth again.
Okay. I think that's the key is the public thank you to the person
Yes.
who did say the thing.
Yes.
I like
Yes.
that as the fix.
Yes.
Okay. Number 2,
Number 2.
ownership versus CYA or
Right.
ownership for CYA. So
Right.
what does this look like in the workplace to you?
Yeah, it's when you feel a lack of trust around, maybe it's even a little bit of lack of fairness. Like I'm going to be my manager approved this, the organization approved this, but if it fails, I'm the only one who failed. So
Mm,
therefore, rather than me own it, I'm going to spread the ownership around through this ambiguity, CCing people, not distributing a to-do list or after a meeting or confirming next steps, so that when something slips, I'm kind of dodging it because there's never clarity over who's supposed to do what. And that ambiguity creates this confusion, and that confusion is mastery of CYA, including the CC game, CCing everybody and making sure, it's not. And then it becomes when things start going wrong, you start playing the blame game yourself to get ahead of the blame, right? So you've learned in a tough organization, well, let me try to pass the buck around and see if I could blame other people because it wasn't my fault. So it's all this shuffling around of blame.
it's the emails that start with the words just confirming.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Just
Just
confirming.
confirming.
Just confirming. Yeah. Yep.
CC the 6 other people in the department just to make sure. I
Yep.
know we've got to get approval from, and then they start listing the amount of approvals. As you're saying, that's the first thing I think of is like, oh my gosh. Yep, that's the emails that are going. Just want to just double
Yeah.
confirming, triple
Just
checking
confirming.
in the thing.
Yes.
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 To to cover. Or what about purposely sending an additional correspondence
Mhm.
in order to protect yourself for the long term?
That's right. That's right.
Like,
Yeah.
that's so much
Yeah.
time, Joe. Like
Yeah.
that's
It's a lot of deceitful stuff going on. It's like because you feel threatened, you feel the fear of repercussions. So you
right.
spend so much energy managing the threat that you're not doing great work. So it's taking your energy from positive, creative, productive to a
Right.
place of fear, threat, and like sort of you actually perspire instead of being inspired to do great work. And guess what? Your work has no meaning if you have no credit for it, if you have no ownership. Ownership and meaning go hand in hand. Even if it's we did this, you're proud of it. We did this together. We
Mm,
own it and we succeeded. So it's not I and me statements, but it's still
right.
ownership comes with that beautiful outcome of the work I do matters. When you don't own it and you want to have it be in the ether, you never have any meaningful outcomes. Because if you happen to be successful and there's no blame, you didn't enjoy it. And if you fail and there's blame, you're suffering.
So what's the fix for this one then? If we think about because that's a very realistic trade-off there because your trade-off, the ownership to CYA. So the fix there, I think there's something in there about what you just said with the we question.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's an opportunity, do you think, to use that to go, you know, what did we learn as a group? Like, is there a power in using that question? I'm just trying to think of it like a practical way to utilize the questions in order to make sure that it's ownership and not just people covering their own ass.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, if your first response to a stumble or failure is, "What did we learn?" And I mean, the first step might be, "Hey, what can we do to make it right immediately? Anyone have any ideas?" And then the debrief is, "What did we learn? Like, what did we learn about this? How can we make it better next time?" And never seeking to find the one true person that caused it. And it's not
Right.
because you don't want to hold people accountable for not doing great work. Over time, if a person continually struggles, there's two things at play there, right? It's like they don't have the capability or the interest to do the job. If they don't have the capability, that's a coaching and training thing. If they don't have the interest, that's more of a, hey, do you want this job or not? Because interest is purely driven by the motivation to do it. So if they're misaligned with the job, maybe you help them find another opportunity. Maybe there's a kind way of having a conversation around, maybe this isn't for you. And if it's the ability to do it, that's our responsibility as leaders to train and coach people so they can do it. So you got to bring the interest in doing the work, and I've got to help you gain the ability to do the work, and those two things help you succeed. And if either of those are missing, those are real conversations we need to have rather than just constantly playing the blame game to make sure you've nailed, you've pinned the blame on the donkey and you never
Right.
fix anything.
It almost sounds like the order you're saying there we need to shift the order with which we ask those questions.
Okay.
So if because because I think that is helpful. It's the what happened, the diagnosing before we prescribed. It's like, let's just get the facts. Let's figure out what did we learn from this as a group? Then what do we want to change about it? And then who owns what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So that we're not
Right.
starting off with the ownership. Does
That's
does
right.
that it's more like, let's diagnose this, let's ask these questions, and then we get to who's gonna own what and take what actions moving forward
That's right.
to
And
make it
a simple technique when if somebody just fails to meet a deadline, simple as that. They
right.
failed to meet a deadline. There's no ambiguity. The deadline was Friday. They didn't get it done.
Okay.
There's two ways to approach that. The wrong way to approach it is to just go right for the, hey, you failed to meet this deadline. That's a big problem. What's going on? The right way to approach that deadline is, hey, what's wrong? I know you're a diligent person. I know you care, and you didn't make this deadline. What happened? That way, it's giving them the opportunity to feel like, okay, I feel safe enough to say why I struggled there because you're showing me that you believe in me and you're not blaming me up front. There might be an interesting reason there that maybe you'll look like a fool if you come at me with such a harsh criticism up front without knowing the reason. And that applies to any situation where you think the person hasn't delivered something. Because the worst you can do as a leader is come in with this harsh criticism of, why didn't you do that? And then they come back and say, oh, you don't remember in our last one-on-one, you gave that
Right.
to Sally, not me. And now you look like a fool for coming in with such heat when all you had to come in with was curiosity. It's like, hey, what happened there? I thought you were working on this. Can you just let me know what happened? No, no, you gave that to Sally. Now you look like a sane person who's not attacking first.
Yeah. And I'm trying to do a callback here, but it does directly link back to our 3 C's and the clarity piece there, doesn't it? Like, if
Yes,
you had clarity
exactly.
of roles and responsibilities,
Yeah,
it's so interconnected, this stuff, Joe, I tell
it
you.
is. It is.
Definitely
Because,
feels
this is all about the people. I mean, it really is all about the people side of leading. You know what I mean? And there's only so many ways you can do this well. It's a small set of skills that go a long way.
the okay, 3rd one, and then I think we can probably dig into these even more so, but the 3rd one, the curiosity for safety. And what do you think? I have one idea of what I've seen this look like in the workplace, but I'm very curious to see what you think. Like, what
Yeah.
does it look like in real life?
Hmm. Yeah, I think the first place I want to go with this one is it's really it's actually a little bit more on the vulnerability side of curiosity. So
Okay.
curiosity could be part of it. There's a little vulnerability with it to show, like, to ask for help. So it's really about asking for help, to say I don't know. So it's that kind of openness that goes with this too. Because I think there's two. This one's a little bit more deep. It's got the curiosity of just asking questions and being curious, but also has the willingness to divulge. Like, I don't know, I need help. Like, can you show me what that means? Tell me more about that. Um, Versus pretending you know just to stay safe. Because it's safer to pretend you're flawless in an organization where you don't feel trust. Like, just pretend you know everything, never ask for help, never admit lack of a gap in knowledge, and you'll be safe, sort of.
I worked somewhere once where there were there were 2 people I'm thinking of in particular where they would say the phrase, "Oh, I just assumed."
Mm,
Like that
yeah,
phrasing, it was
yeah,
always it just felt like like their common verbiage, a common language. And as we're talking about this curiosity for safety, it just was sticking out in my head. Like, would that be a fit here, Joe? Where it's kind of like if you're saying like, "Oh, I just assumed that you knew that what you were supposed to do for this part of the project. Oh, I just assumed that had been communicated to you. Oh, I assumed we were on the same page with what your rating was on your review," or whatever the case. There's the whole assumption, analogies, metaphors you could make, but I kind of think there's a bit of a fit here.
hmm
That one, is that fair?
yeah. There's something there about just more ambiguity with that, right?
Yeah,
If I ask, I'm getting certainty, but if I leave it ambiguous, I can kind of skate and feel safe that I just assumed and you didn't say otherwise, so I'm okay. So it's a
right.
little way to kind of dodge. It's a little dodgy, I think. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes. But would be an indication. Also, then on that same train of thought, if I'm a leader listening to this, I'd start to be asking myself something like, when's the last time I said, I don't know yet?
Right.
I don't
Right.
necessarily have that answer yet.
That's right.
That it's not only good to say that, it can actually have a really beneficial impact on the rest of the team and the people around you, but to kinda go,
Yes.
when did the last time in the last 30 days have I actually said that sentence out loud?
Yeah, I
Could
like that.
Is that something to consider that would maybe really reinforce the safety piece
Yeah,
versus
because
curiosity?
it's modeling it, right? So I think that's always
Okay,
a good strategy, right?
yeah. Do you have any other fixes? Yeah, what do you
You,
think?
you know, this one, there was something about this one that just, it's funny because I had it and I lost it right there because
Oh,
I was thinking
sorry, because
about
I
something.
babbled
No,
on.
it's my fault. I like had it and then I wanted to talk about your thing.
Oh, no.
We'll just we could cut this part out, but isn't it more fun to realize that we're just real people having these conversations, right?
Well, yeah, no, I
Like, if
think that's
it's
totally fair.
by the way, that's psychological safety right there to say, we
Yeah.
could edit that part out to seem more competent, or we could just I
It's
can
too
just leave it
late.
in and say, "Hey, I lost my train of thought, and, that thing left the station and left me behind on the tracks."
No, I think that's totally good. Hey, maybe it will help with the prompt, okay? So what I was asking about is
Yeah,
fixes for this,
yeah.
and I was saying, is there something in there about leaders being able asking yourself, when's the last time you said, "I don't have that answer yet. I'm still figuring it out,"
Mhm.
as an option? Because 'cause I'm sure there's some other fixes in there too for that one.
Yeah, well, I just thought of something that might work here.
Okay, okay.
It's asking everyone to perhaps ask a question, like, so we can all learn more about this thing. So as we're talking about this topic, I'd like everyone to just ask a question so we can engage in curiosity. Because sometimes the workplace tends to reward competence so much that everybody's always trying to show you what they know by blurting it out, and like they can't.
Yeah,
It's like a contest of who could say the thing first.
sure.
Why don't we model curiosity by saying, let's all ask a question so we can all learn more? Because all of our questions might be different. We might gain different perspectives on this topic, on whatever. So it's,
Mm,
it's kind of a good way to engage in, like, being comfortable not knowing, or even if it's like a little pretending you don't know, you could just asking a question. You're really saying, ask a question that might help others learn more. So whatever the question is, that could be a healthy way to just get people comfortable asking questions instead of always making statements and trying to declare their brilliance or knowledge. because it's like it's a competition. It's like so many workplaces are so competitive about who's the smartest person in the room. I mean,
Right.
who's the most curious person in the room that asks a question nobody asked that gets us thinking differently? I want to
Yes.
reward that.
Yes. I wonder if okay, here's something I'm gonna share this. Maybe you can tell me if this is a good idea or not. But
Sure.
in an effort to embrace more of the curiosity piece, on a team I was running previously, I we make decisions as we normally do all in our roles. And I'm like, we got to get out of this rut. We have to start thinking about things differently. So the approach we took was, what if we were not L&D professionals? What if we were not HR directors in this way? What if we were the CFO? And if I'm the CFO of the organization, how would I look at this problem differently? How
Yeah.
would I, you know what I mean? Like what's like to literally take on, it got to the point where I was printing job descriptions because we all kind of went, what is the CFO doing? Just out of curiosity. So I like took the job descriptions, director of sales and marketing, director of rooms division operations, and everyone had to pick one out of the pile. So they're each picking this job description. I'm like, okay, we're trying to solve our problem that we have here, but everyone's got to take on the mindset, the mentality, the thinking that you might have if this was your title and this was your role. And I just thought of that right now that it could be some version of that. It could be interesting if you really want to harness some curiosity on the team in that way.
I love that idea,
Do you?
honestly. It's
Okay.
so much fun. And, just a comment on your style because I think it's a it's a very meta example of you demonstrating curiosity. You presented that with curiosity. You said, "Hey, tell me what you think about this idea.
Yeah, I'm
Does
like, am
this
I off
make
base
sense?"
on this? I don't
I
know.
think you do that very naturally as some because I think without sometimes people bring the authoritative approach to this, like, "Hey, I'm gonna tell you what to do."
Mm,
You bring a
right,
nice collaborative approach to say, "Hey, what do you think of this idea? What if we had somebody play the CEFO in this role and that role?" And I think introducing that way to your team is a gift of like inviting
okay,
people to come along rather than showing them the bullet points of here's what's happening next. So I don't know if you
right.
know that about yourself, but it's a very
No, oh
healthy way to do that. So I wanted to point that
my
out. And
gosh.
of course, I love the idea. Have you ever done that in a training session with a little different tactic with the different hats? You create like four hats of different colors, and each hat represents a different style or point of view, and people literally switch hats and play that. We've played that game before, which is fun. I haven't done it in a long time, so I forget the details, but it's a cool exercise.
Wait, is it actual hats that you bring?
It's
Because
actual
that's
hats.
exciting to
It's
me for
actual
some
hats.
reason. I kind
Yeah,
of
like
love that.
each hat represents a different perspective. So whoever wears the hat has to play that perspective. So it could be like we've used tools in the past that almost show like the directive type of person versus the
Okay,
people type of person. So what would the
yes,
people person say about this? What would the more directive person and task oriented? What would the detail person who wants to know the underlying why behind it, and what would the person who wants to know the people who's excited about it and wants to kind of promote it? So it's like those people will play the role, so we get four different perspectives on the same
sure.
thing. Because sometimes we get in our own style and we think, well, the information I need is the only information that matters, but there's other styles need different levels of and depths of information.
Yeah. Joe, you know my love of psychometric tools. So if
Yes.
we're talking about different hats for playing out different styles, absolutely incorporate that into a lot of workshops. Not only the style that feels natural to you, but the power in how you build rapport and reflects to the opposite style. So you have
Yes.
someone who is very
That's right.
strong, outcome focused, get it done, make it happen. And they have to shift into this collaborative, accommodating, empathetic state. So you can have some real fun with that in a way that helps the learning and the curiosity. But I just got super jacked up when you said actual hats, and I'm just gonna
Actual
make a
hats.
little note
Exactly.
because I
Yeah.
like the physical. I actually really like that approach to it. So see, I'm learning every time we talk.
We
Um,
learn from each other. So
yeah.
a little add on to that because I think it's a great real world example.
Yeah.
This was a long time ago. It was over 20 years ago where we used a tool that was basically four styles. It was the platinum rule, which is like
Yeah.
such a great simple take it in the session kind of tool where you learn if you're like a thinker, a relator, a director,
Yes.
or a socializer, right? Socializer gets a bad rap. It doesn't mean you like to talk all the time. So we showed these leaders how to use the tool both to understand themselves, but more importantly, how to relate better to others and how to flex to others and really get a sense. So we had one person who we did a leadership program with a gap between sessions. She said, I love this stuff. She went out and did some work with it. She comes back about a month later. She said, I got to tell the story to the whole class. She said, I looked at all my performance evaluations of my team members and I rewrote them with their style in mind because we showed them how to like determine the other
Yes.
person's style.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she took her directors and she made it more bulleted and to the point. She took her relators and she made it more about the impact on
Yeah.
people. She did all that. She said people gave her specific comments about how it was like the best experience they ever had with a performance evaluation. And she changed none of the ratings. She changed none of the substance. This was not manipulation. This was simply
Yes.
being more in tune with the person you're sitting across from so that you're giving them a message that is most kind of like connected to who they are and the way they process things. So that was a really cool example of, and the whole class, the whole workshop class was like, we got to try this next time in our reviews.
Yeah.
And by the way, I used it in my own team reviews after that, and I had the same experience. So she unlocked a brilliant idea for me. So learning from the workshop participants, something I think we've both experienced.
Yeah, I think we could do a whole other episode just on ways to incorporate psychometric tools and the tactics and things you can utilize just because it's my love language and I do think there's real value in there. It's honestly hard, Joe, not to go off on like a tangent on that. Like I feel like
I
we could
know we're
just spin
both
out in that
assessment
way.
nerds. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
know.
I totally appreciate that there is a connection to the trust piece and the curiosity. And I just made a note where I was like, this is a future topic for us to really dig into. Because if we look at the three trade-offs,
Yes.
if we were to think about our three T's, like in terms of takeaways, all those things, but before we do that, because I want to hear what you think a great tactic, tool, or tip is for people. We were talking about the parking lot feeling, and
Yes. Yes.
before, and I think you should share that because I thought if the trade-offs are happening for the ineffective, there is adverse effects, and I love that example as a way to just honestly demonstrate what that feeling
Yeah.
is like.
Yeah. Because we're not just promoting trust to say, well, a trust is obviously a good thing.
Sure.
Trust has tangible impact on the people, on the productivity, on the organization, on the culture, on everything. And an unfortunate example is one I've certainly experienced personally, especially driving to work, especially on a winter day, pulling into the parking lot, turning the car off, and having that moment of truth where you look in your own rearview mirror and say, how did I get here? Like I'm about to go in this building and
Yeah.
now I'm starting to rehearse the
Right.
day, right? What kind of, all right, how am I going to act with this person? And what am I
Yeah.
going to do in this meeting about this to stay safe? And you're planning your safety in advance because you're walking into a place of mistrust where you just know you won't be safe unless you make it safe for yourself. And that's one of the longest walks you'll ever take in your life, from your car to the door of your building
True.
when you don't want to be there and you don't work in a place where you feel at home. And that's
Yeah.
why belonging. I don't think the opposite of mistrust is just trust. I think trust creates belonging, and belonging creates I am with my people, I feel safe and I could thrive here. And mistrust is, I want to stay in my car and maybe have a cry or something before I go into the building. And I'm sure there's thousands of people who've had that experience where they're wiping their eyes before they go in the building because like one more day of this.
Gosh. It makes me there's a fearful side of this as someone who's been fortunate enough to be in leadership positions that I start thinking, how do I make certain that's not happening on my team?
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, like there's something
Exactly.
in me, Joe, that goes like, not on my watch.
That's
So I
right. That's right.
just, I would,
Right. Who from my team is out there, trembling in the
anybody
parking
sitting in
lot?
the parking lot, Joe,
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
don't
want
worry.
any parking lot people on my team. I want people
No.
sprinting in to say, hey, I'm
Yeah.
excited to be here today. Let's have some fun.
I can't or in today's world, like, I can't wait to log on to Teams this morning. Like, this is the thing. So,
Imagine a world where
yeah,
people can't wait
where
to log on to Teams.
yes,
All
yes.
right, so what's our
Yeah.
first, 3 what's the 3 T's again? Because 'Cause I'm so bad at remembering the 3
Okay,
T's.
they're tips, tools, and tactics to be able
Oh,
to
someday I'll
utilize.
get that right.
That's
Tips,
okay.
tools, and
That's
tactics.
why you have me here, Joe. That's why you have me here. So it's like it's our summary of takeaways. So people go, we don't want to listen to them babble on. They can skip to the last 2 minutes and go, what are the three tips, tools, or tactics? It's like a nice catch-all. I do have one, and it prompted me thinking of I don't want anybody on my team ever sitting in the parking lot thinking, how do I cover my ass? How do I
Yes,
make sure? Yes, right. So
yes.
here are the questions that I think are really helpful and to consciously kind of examine against. Do people tell the truth early? Like when you think about your team or even the folks that you work with, are people telling the truth early? Are they taking ownership quickly in any way, the good and the bad? Like are they taking ownership quickly and do they ask questions freely? Like people are not holding back. I just think
And
if
ask
you're
for
the
help too. Ask for help
yeah,
too. Yeah,
yeah,
I love it.
if you're the kind of person where you go, "Yeah, people tell the truth early on my team, I hear it all the time." They definitely are they're racing to be the first one to put their hand up and go, "Listen, I dropped the ball last week. That one's on me." Or they're also putting their hand up very quickly to go, "Yeah, that was a great success and I'm really proud of the contribution." So like there's that safety in both sides and they have no problem asking the questions like I don't have to give the what is it that managers say? This is so old school. Oh, yeah. There's no stupid questions, you know?
Oh, I
It's like
know,
you
I
don't
know.
even have to say that. Like, that's not a
Right,
thing you have to
that's
vocalize
right,
on your team because they know they
that's
can
right.
say anything. Okay, that's my first tactic.
Okay, you know, I don't want people to lose the nuance of that because I think it's really
Okay.
good,
Oh,
and
okay,
the
good.
nuance there is that when you said that, it made me think of how quickly do they do it? I think how quickly they do it is a very telling thing because the first person to do it has courage and they only or it might take courage, but hopefully it doesn't take too much courage because you made it so easy. So if you're making it easy, it'll happen quickly. And I think that's the key. So it's a testament to you that it's happening quickly. That's how you measure it. So it's not just our people, it's our people doing it first. Are
Yeah.
they doing it right away? So good nuance there. I don't want you
Okay,
to miss that.
nice. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. What do you got?
Yeah, for me, it's leadership vulnerability in every aspect of it, and I mean professional vulnerability. I don't mean telling people your deepest, darkest secrets. I mean, people just get so caught up in vulnerable. You can't be vulnerable at work. Yes, you can. It's called appropriate vulnerability. It's saying you don't know. It's being curious. It's saying, "Hey, you know what? I failed on a big project one time and my boss was great. She helped me do XYZ." It's admitting like I was in the wrong career, I did this. It's not looking like a hot mess where you don't know anything, right? It's balanced with, "Hey, this is what I think I'm good at." But professionally vulnerable being appropriately vulnerable around saying I don't know first, admitting like you need help so that you model this for your team. Because if you want to create that safety, you do it by showing that you're putting an olive branch out there to say, "I'm going to go first."
Yes. I love it. You had one more. I know you
Oh, I
did.
did. That's right. Okay,
Yeah.
I've got one more, and it is, when you're sort of debriefing something, or when you want to get kind of like a present state for your team, it's always great to start with strengths and say, what did we do well in this project, or what's working well on this team, and then the other question you ask is, what's one thing that could make it even better? And the language there is really important because it's kind of an even better if statement, right? It's like here's what's working well,
Mm,
and it would be even better if we did this. Because then you're engaging the creativity of, oh, what are my ideas to make things better, which is much less threatening than, what are we doing wrong? How's this broken? What's the fix is better than how's this broken. So you're simply saying what would be even better if? It would be even better if we had another hour to do it. Things like that. And that little tweak invites more and it's setting the stage for more comments and more voluntary sharing. And so you're basically creating the conditions for more trust in the future.
I feel like we nailed it. I mean, I'm obviously biased, but I think the real takeaway for me is I'm going to buy some hats and bring them to the next workshop that I run. So there
Nice.
are takeaways for you, me, and hopefully our listeners, Joe.
Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
this one, I think it's a fun one, because, um, whenever we can give people some simple things they could do tomorrow, I think we're adding value. And, there's that just to show you how a couple of stories in the real world and a little metaphor around melting ice can lead us down a path of some real world stuff that we all struggle with. So it was fun talking to you about this one, and look forward to next time.
Sounds great. See you in a fortnight.